How many rounds does the Gatling Gun Sentry hold? Just how ammo efficient is the Stalwart? These are some of the questions we'll be answering in this video. Greetings, Helldivers. Today we're gonna plunge into the world of all things machine guns. I've been observing what everyone is curious about, and I did notice that some people felt machine guns aren't talked about enough and are overlooked a lot, that they aren't getting the same kind of love and attention as other weapons are. With this video, I hope to change that. For the machine gun enthusiasts out there, I hope this video will do justice in highlighting some of the joys and strengths the simple machine gun can bring to the table, of which there will be a handful to go through. So let's get it on. As usual, a disclaimer about the numbers you see here. They are my best efforts at putting things together based on a frame-by-frame observation, analysis, and field testing. Imperfection is expected, but I've done my best to ensure that what I present here is at least as close to the observable truth as possible. With that out of the way, let's start by taking a look at our bullet-based sentries. As of this video, we currently only have the following: the AMG 43 Machine Gun Sentry, the AG 16 Gatling Sentry, as well as the EMG 101 HMG Emplacement. If you go by the menu itself, very little is known about the performance of these stratagems. And of course, this means we don't exactly know how well they perform or know how to maximize their effectiveness in the field. This table here hopes to change that. What you see here are some of the good-to-know characteristics of the stratagems that would help you make better decisions while also giving you a look at the comparative performance between them. Max Sustained Fire shows you how long a sentry or emplacement can continuously fire for. Fire Rate shows you how fast, in terms of rounds per second, a sentry or emplacement can shoot. Total Ammo shows you how much ammo is contained within. The figure in brackets is the ammo you get after getting the Sentry module upgrade, which provides a 50% increase to its ammo. Engagement Distance shows you the distance at which the Sentry will engage targets in its line of sight. Penetration is the armor penetrating potential of the Sentry. And finally, Cooldown is the duration you'll need to wait in between cooldowns. Let's start our analysis with the Machine Gun Sentry. Deploying this sentry summons an automatic sentry that is equipped with the same MG43 machine gun that we have as a support weapon. Upon activating, it provides you with 17.6 seconds of continuous medium AP fire. With up to 195 rounds available, a fully upgraded machine gun sentry has 30% more ammo than our machine gun support weapon, offering a decent amount of supporting fire from a pretty large distance of 73 meters. If you are wondering what 73 meters looks like, this clip should help you visualize that.
Sentry, northeast.
Next, if you look at the numbers of the Gatling Sentry, you'll see it's a step up from the Machine Gun Sentry in every way. At 22.5 seconds, it has a nearly 5-second longer max sustained fire duration. It fires more than twice as fast and has 3 times more ammo available than the machine gun. And it even has the same engagement distance of 73 meters. Looking at these numbers, there's no doubt you'd reach the same thought as I did. What then is the point of the Machine Gun Sentry, especially when both these sentries also share the same 180-second cooldown? As it is right now, there's really no good reason to ever take the Machine Gun Sentry over the Gatling gun. Before I talk about some tactics with the sentries, let's very briefly go over the HMG Emplacement. If you look at its numbers, and then look at the MG43 machine gun's profile later, it's basically 2 machine guns duct taped together and then mounted on a lazy Susan. The main advantage of the HMG Emplacement is its max sustained fire of 27.3 seconds. Its huge 300 round mag size allows you to fire an oppressive hail of medium AP with more precision than the Gatling gun, since you can choose where to aim. Of course, its main weakness is that you are entirely stationary, and outside of what looks to be a 120-degree arc in front of you, turning to face enemies is a very slow process, which makes you vulnerable to getting flanked. Moving on, let's talk about a couple of battle tactics. From the table you saw earlier, I think the most useful thing to know about the sentries was its max sustained fire duration and its engagement distance. You already saw how far 73 meters looks like. Knowing this, one of the most useful things you can deploy the sentries for is to provide you with covering fire while taking out a nest or to cover an entry zone from a distance preemptively. Because you know sentries can shoot as far as 73 meters, you can first mark the distance limit to check the range your sentries can support you from. This allows you to summon it in a way that gives the sentry more space to work with and not too close to the action where it is vulnerable. You can also use this knowledge to ensure that when you summon down your sentry, it doesn't immediately start shooting at something you don't want to aggro. In this case, best set the distance check to be about 75 meters for good measure. The sentry's targeting priority is also something that needs to be considered when it comes to positioning. The machine gun and Gatling Sentry will prioritize shooting at enemies it can take down with its medium AP. This means, if there is a charger among a bunch of fodder enemies, it will focus on killing the fodder over shooting the charger. It will even redirect its targeting to the enemies it can kill, even if it was already shooting the charger to begin with. For this reason, be careful that your sentry doesn't suddenly start shooting at you because a scavenger or hunter managed to close the distance and get in your face. You run the risk of getting shredded by your own sentry. Before we move on to the support weapon section, here's a short intermission.
Fire in the hole!
Hello there.
As you can see from the tables, having numbers helps you picture things clearer and gives you a better sense of what to make of something. If you enjoy this kind of deep analysis work, consider dropping a like and subscribing if you want to see more content like this. Next up, let's talk about the MG43 machine gun and the Stalwart. For this, we will need the support weapon profile table. This table not only adds more information about the support weapons, but also compares them side by side to give you an idea about how each of them performs against each other. As mentioned earlier in the Sentry and Emplacement section, the MG43 machine gun is basically the same as earlier. Difference with the weapon is that it has a lower magazine of 150 rounds, but has a higher total ammo count of 450 across 3 magazines. It also has medium AP capability, making it a very effective tool for culling many of the enemies you'll need to deal with in a mission. The major weakness of the MG43, however, is its long reload time of 5 seconds, during which you are not able to move and must remain stationary. It also has a terrible resupply efficiency of 33%, meaning it only gets 1 magazine back from picking up a resupply brick. Here's the RPM comparison table to compare and see how much more DPS you'll get for switching up the RPM on your machine gun. At 630 RPM, you can sustain a continuous barrage of fire for 14.3 seconds. Ramping it up to 760 gives you a 20% boost to your DPS, while cranking it to 900 allows you to dump your entire magazine in 10 seconds for a 43% increase in DPS compared to base. When should you use the different RPM levels? This is going to be entirely subjective, but from my experience, I tend to switch up the RPM depending on the range of engagement. If I have the distance, I'll take more measured shots at 630 to be a little more precise and conserve ammo by minimizing overshooting. If I'm on the move or if I'm facing down a breach, I'll kick it up to 760 for more close quarters firepower where accuracy matters less and needing something dead as soon as possible matters more. 900 RPM is reserved for one thing in my book: stalkers. Those bastards deserve to eat a storm of bullets at every given opportunity. But these are just my thoughts. You decide how you want to use the fire rates. Here is a summary of the MG43's full profile. Moving on, the Stalwart has a much larger magazine size of 250. It can also carry 4 magazines for a total of 1000 rounds of light AP firepower. The Stalwart's longer 5.8 second reload doesn't handicap it like the MG43 because you can reload on the move, a huge advantage for a weapon carrying this much firepower. It also has a resupply efficiency of 50%, allowing you to restore up to 2 mags worth of ammo from a single resupply brick. As for its RPM comparison table, the Stalwart's huge magazine allows it to sustain continuous fire for an incredible 21.4 seconds at 700 RPM. It's unbelievable how long you can hold back waves of fodder enemies before needing to reload. Kicking it up to 850 RPM gives you a 21% DPS boost in exchange for sustained fire duration. Similarly to the MG43, giving up some sustained fire is great if you are on the move and are engaged in close quarters. Ramping up the Stalwart's RPM to 1150 offers you a massive 64% boost in DPS, turning whatever you're aiming at, mostly stalkers and brute commanders in this case, into terminate cheese. Taking everything you've seen about the Stalwart into consideration, its only weaknesses are the lack of armor penetration and lower damage value when compared against the MG43. It's a support weapon that has lots of ammo, light AP, and is very efficient for dealing with waves of smaller bugs and lesser enemies. Exactly what you'd want in a general use primary weapon. In fact, there are many comments about people swearing by the Stalwart as an actual primary weapon, in part because it was an actual primary weapon in Helldivers 1. So, given this, I've taken the liberty of comparing the Stalwart against some of our more popular primary weapons that function in the same capacity. Here's a table for that. If I had to go by feel, I'd say the Stalwart is basically a very large AR-23 Liberator with 5 times the magazine capacity. It has a fire rate that sits between the Liberator and the Sickle, but of course can exceed it if necessary. The biggest reason why you'd want to consider bringing the Stalwart as a primary weapon is going to be for its combination of total ammo, high max sustained fire, and combat uptime. Combat uptime is a variable that measures how much time you'll spend reloading versus shooting. The higher the number, the more uptime you have in combat, and the smaller your window of being without bullets to dispense. Something not shown on this table is its relative ammo efficiency. Not counting the sickle's potential for infinite ammo, the Stalwart's huge magazine and deep ammo reserves means you are pretty much free to dump ammo on anything you see. Here's the table comparing how effective ammo supplies are for the Stalwart against the other primaries. The key thing to observe from this table is the comparative ammo efficiency and value you're getting from your resupply brick and ammo pickups. While the Stalwart only gets back 50% of its total magazine, that 50% is worth so much more its weight in bullets you get back compared to everything else but the sickle. With a single resupply brick, you've got 500 rounds to spend with minimal reloading. Why does all of this matter? Because of synergy. If you pair the Stalwart with the resupply backpack, which contains 4 resupply bricks, between the ammo the Stalwart already holds and all the resupply bricks on you, you have a total of 3,000 rounds to spend. 3,000 rounds on top of restoring up to 8 grenades and stims. This pairing of stratagems allows you to throw ammo conservation out the window and just have fun unleashing everything you've got into the enemy. There's also a neat little interaction between the supply pack. If you have an empty slot, picking up a resupply brick from the resupply summon not only refills that empty slot, but also provides you with the benefit from picking up the brick, restoring your ammo, grenades and stims as if you had used it. This means the resupply backpack doubles the efficiency of all resupply bricks picked up. Suffice to say, with just these 2 stratagems, you won't have any problems with lightly armored enemies. It's only a question of how many bullets it's going to take, something you can afford to be very generous about. The remainder of your loadout should then be dedicated towards dealing with more heavily armored targets. Consider taking something like the SG-8S Slugger or the +1 Scorcher as your primary to have something to deal with medium armored enemies. The remaining 2 stratagem slots should be used for anti-armor problem solving. I like to have the expendable anti-tank rockets, as well as an orbital rail cannon for surgical elimination, but you use what you like. Alright, that's it for this video. I think I've done a decent job at painting a picture on how well all our machine gun things work in the game. From what I've seen, I think there needs to be some balancing, especially for the Machine Gun Sentry and the HMG Emplacement. I think considering how much better the Gatling Sentry is, the cooldown of the Machine Gun Sentry should be reduced to at least 120 seconds down from 180, and the HMG Emplacement down to 100 instead. That way, the lack in power output or flexibility is compensated for by uptime, allowing you more opportunities for tactical deployment. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on the stratagems covered here? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Over and out, Helldivers.